Our lucky last presenter today is Alexander Hazell. He is intern number 109. In our 11 years of operating, we've now had 109 students. And so Alexander is now finished his degree. He will be graduating on the 11th of February. Yay. His degree is a Bachelor of Arts, specialising in profession writing and publishing, and also in history. We'll be cheering you on virtually on the 11th of February. And he loves this work so much that he's actually enrolled in honours degree as well, so he'll be back. And he'll be doing his honours in history. Alex's supervisors on this project are Andre Brett from the history discipline here at Curtin, and Leigh O'Brien from the Museum of Geraldton, with support from myself and Daniel Items from the HIVE. So over to you, Alex.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. I'd like to start just by thanking everyone, everyone who's just, kind of helped me out over these past 10 weeks in all these various wonderful different ways, and all my supervisors as well. Thank you all. I'd like to, start just by acknowledging that we are, standing from the lands of the Whadjuk Noongar people today, and I would just like to pay my respects unto their elders past and present and emerging, and always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And I would also, I'd like to I would also like to advise as well that this presentation has images of people who have since passed away. Okay, so our history, I suppose it kind of starts in the 1850s when the town of Geraldton was established on Yamatji country. It opened as the principal port of the region, of the Midwest region. And it kind of wasn't until about 1879, after Alexander Forrest pictured, I believe he's this fella there. Yes, with the wonderful beard. He did an expedition across the state's northern mass, and this obviously had a huge influx, of all these people coming in up to the north, because of reports of all this arable land, for kind of all these pastoralists, and this obviously had a huge impact on the various Aboriginal people of these regions as well. And this project is just another kind of iteration, of these sort of previous of these previous panorama projects that have been underway at different points. So I suppose I'd like to just explain what a panorama actually is. So, at first, I suppose it's wide. Okay, that's all you need to know. It's wide. It can start from about 60, and it can range kind of up to a full 360-degree view. It is usually of an elevated viewpoint. It's not always like that, as we'll see. And it's an immersive capture of a landscape, or of other kind of scenes as well. This image here is also shown here, and you'll see it later in the showcase as well. This is from around 1893, and it shows the town of Geraldton from Flagstaff Hill. And I'd like all of you just to keep this image in your heads, as we'll be coming back to it in a few slides along. Okay, so this project had three, kind of stages and outputs, as you can see here. I've split this, into these regions here, as I've been finding these panoramas, and kind of, and just kind of working with them as well. So as you can see here on this nice map of the state, you can see I have split the regions up. So I've been like, I suppose, kind of working on this region here, which is the Midwest, as well as this region here, which is called the Gascoyne, up here to the Pilbara, and to the extent of the Kimberley region as well. You can see the town of Geraldton, that is in the Midwest. I will focus mainly on the visual outcomes of that process today. Okay, so at the start of this project, the HIVE team had found around 6 of these panoramas. Well, I'm extremely happy to say that at the end of the end of my time here, that had increased to over 300, which is extremely cool, really amazing. You can see, you can see all these other results here, and this, is of course, a reflection of the scale of this material, I suppose, that we now have. But as you can see here, these are some snapshots of the spreadsheets that I was working with. As just a little indication of the records. Now I would like to show you some of the amazing panoramas that we found on the town of Geraldton, and all the rest will be on the showcase. But I will show you some very cool ones here. This one first was from around 1943, so it was taken during World War II, and it shows this massive parade of troops from the 2nd Australian Division who have been drawn up for inspection. This is from an oval there, as you can see, and it was taken from the grandstands. In the war, it was home to an RAAF base in the town of Geraldton, and it held a lot of strategic importance as well during the war. Okay, so these next two are extremely exciting. This is from the eminent, Australian photographer whose name is Frank Hurley. I'm sure you've heard of Frank Hurley. He did in around 1961, he went on this massive Australian tour. And then he sort of passed away a few months later in around 1962. This was taken around the hills where the peak of Mount Scott is today. And there's this one here, which is also from Frank Hurley. Okay, so part of this process as well was working with this, I suppose it's Google Earth map. So as you can see here, this map was for the town of Geraldton itself. You can see these little points here scattered around with their lines. These are for the estimated taking locations of these panoramas that were found from the town of Geraldton. I'll explain more. I'll explain more. In a few minutes. And this one here shows the kind of scale of all these panorama locations. These span all across the state, and these little marks here are from where panoramas were found in. So yes, extremely cool. So they start from there and they go all the way up to top there. I would now like to, explain, explain one of the processes that we used for the geolocation on this, on this panorama here, which you saw earlier. I hope you kept this in your minds. So yes, this is that one from earlier, and as you can see here, I've marked these landmarks here. These four landmarks are, are used for when we try to, as accurately as humanly possible, try to get an estimated taking location. These four landmarks here. Okay, now, if we turn to some historical aerial imagery on the left, this is from Landgate Map Viewer Plus, you can see, yes, all these landmarks here still exist, and they, I suppose they weren't just made up, as part of this illustration, so that's a good sign. You can see A, B, C, D here. Now, if we look at this one, this was from last year, I believe, or like I think the year before. You can see only this one here, this landmark, and this landmark is still standing. All the other ones have been taken off over time. Okay, now what we can do is we can place these little marks there against each of the buildings. You see these little paths there all end at this spot here. Now, as the lines end, this is where our estimated taking location is. So this image was likely from around here. This is now a car park where this education centre is. This original hill there, and this was flattened in around the 1920s for harbour works. So yeah, very cool. So some very extremely interesting, storytelling opportunities, as well as these themes kind of started to emerge as I was working on this project. these became a very essential part of this project as I was working on it. Now, in the interest of time and the scope of this talk, I'll be kind of representing these themes visually through some examples of some panoramas, which I really like, as well. And all these themes kind of link together, which is really nice. Okay, so the first theme, is all about representing Aboriginal people as well as culture. So this project found around 28 panoramas, which all show aspects of Aboriginal culture, as well as the people in them. This first one is from around 1932, which was attributed to the pastoralist magnate Michael Durack, and it shows Aboriginal people here in their traditional dress, while some other people here in more European style clothing look on, and there's a man there actively taking a picture of them. A little bit of cameraception there, which is cool. Yeah. Okay, and this next one as well was also around the same time, around 1931. So this one was taken by William Wesley Allen, and he was the owner of the Karratha station, which is in the Pimbley. The Pilbara, not the Kimberley, not the Pimbley. Yeah, and it shows, it shows Aboriginal staff who were being employed at the station, and they were employed across all sorts of different stations, across these regions as well. Okay, so this next theme, is all about station life, as well as labour and pastoralism. This one as well was also taken by William Wesley Allen, and it shows a lovely landscape overview of his station that he was managing on top of a hill. Okay, and this next one was from a station called Sturk Creek Station. This was taken by the explorer Richard Morris around 1902. As you can see, there are some stockmen here who are Aboriginal as well, which is really nice. Okay, and this last theme, I wanted to explore is all about exploration and the landscape. So these two panoramas are as well taken from R.T. Morris at the start of his Western Australian, leg of his expedition across the country. This is when he first entered into the state from the Musgrave Ranges here. Okay, and as you can see, this last one here shows a high point. It shows the Ord River, stockmen there in the corner, and you have cattle crossing across the river. Okay, so one of my last, I suppose points that I wanted to speak about was this project has revealed all sorts of interpretation as well as truth-telling opportunities as well. These are of course very I suppose, essential factors when we're trying to display these images, and when we're trying to discuss, all these histories which involve, a lot of harsh, I suppose, truths, around Aboriginal, I suppose, dispossession of their lands, as well as conflict. But it's also essential to I suppose, point out the other side, of all this, and to give them some agency, and some resilience, in their history as well. So as you can see here, all these expeditions, that these people went on, none of that could be possible without the Aboriginal guides, right? That's like, that's just an example, of I suppose what, how these stories can be shaped, and how the public can access them. These panoramas. Okay, so for some future work, so this project, as I stated at the start, it's sort of just like builds upon earlier work of these panorama projects that have already been translated into public exhibition form, as well as websites. A previous iteration of this project, which is this one here, this Albany Then and Now, had an extremely successful launch around last December, and is on exhibition now at the Museum of the Great Southern, and of course, with my project here, this is something that I hope we can achieve with a future expedition and a website as well. That'd be awesome. Okay, so overall, all this work, is still very much ongoing. Even after I stop here with the HIVE, and all this, and all this kind of represents, all this kind of, all this kind of activity in our state's north, sort of brings its history to life. Yes, for the public as well. So, that's all from me. Thanks very much. I'm very happy to take any questions now, or I can speak to you guys later at the demonstration. Thanks for listening.